Chapter 15. The First Rule. After the flood that nearly took his mother and sister, Ethan stopped improvising. He had been improvising all along. He saw now, clever in the moment, reactive, plucking at the future, wherever a thread looked loose, trusting his wits and his memory to keep him ahead of the consequences. The near miss at the rain-soaked intersection had shown him the cost of that. A man who improvised against a river would drown, sooner or later, no matter how clever. What he needed was not more cleverness. It was doctrine, a set of laws he could hold to even when his nerve failed and the day went sideways, the way his father held to bleed away from the work. So through that long winter of his 6th year, in the quiet after the listening inward, Ethan built his rules. He drafted them in his head and tested each against the failures he had already lived. The first rule, move early, move small. The teapot had taught it, the flood had carved it deep. A small change made far upstream rippled gently and could be absorbed. A large change made at the last moment crashed through the years like a wave. Better 100 tiny nudges across years than one great shove at the end. Better to make a thing unlikely than to stop it at the last second. The second rule, never be seen to know. The oldest rule, the foundation of all the others. The moment anyone understood that Ethan knew the future, he became not a lucky boy but an anomaly, a flare in the dark, a thing to be studied or hunted. His invisibility was worth more than any single save. Stay in the category. Be bright, not impossible. Be lucky, not prophetic. The third rule, spend changes only where they matter. The flood had taught him that every change cost him his sight downstream and risked a worse outcome somewhere he couldn't see. For knowledge was finite and changes were dangerous. He could not save everyone, and trying would blind and endanger the few he had come back for. Choose. Spend the map where it counted, his family, the ledger, the road to 2027, and let the small griefs of strangers run their course, however much the swimmer in him hated it. The fourth rule, after a change you are blind. Plan for the dark. Every save erased the map past it. He must never again walk his family into an unmapped afternoon, assuming the old current still held. After every change, treat the world as unknown country, and move with the caution of a man in the dark. He wrote them, unwrote them, refined them night after night, until they were clean and hard and few, 4 laws, simple enough to hold to in a panic, that turned the chaos of changing fate into something a careful man could survive. And then he tested them against the one change that mattered most, the reason for all of it, and found a crack. He laid the rules over the morning in 1999, the wet road, the truck, the 4 seconds, and watched them fail. Move early, move small. He could, yes. He had years to make the fatal job less likely, to nudge his father onto a different site, a different route, a different morning. He was already doing it. But the river was strong here. The map insisted, again and again, that the threads kept finding their way back toward that road, that some days simply had weight to them. And if all his early small moves failed, if the day came anyway, his father bound for that road despite everything, then the first rule ran out, and only one move would be left. The last-second one. The large one. The very kind of change his own doctrine warned against. And worse, far worse, was what the last-second save would require. To pull a grown man off a road in a single instant, A 6 or 7-year-old child would have to do something no child could do. He would have to act on knowledge he could not possibly have. He would have to scream the right warning at the right second, or seize the right arm, or place his own small body in the one spot that turned 4 seconds the other way. And whatever he did, in that instant, in front of his father and God and whoever else was watching, he would be seen to know. The second rule. His foundation. The one law beneath all the others. Saving his father might demand that he break it. The understanding settled over him cold and total, lying in the dark, and he made himself sit with it rather than flinch. It was a trap built into the very shape of his second life. Everything he had become, the patience, the invisibility, the buried man, the dulled shine, the careful banking of trust grain by grain, all of it was designed to keep him hidden until the world ended in 2027. But the first and dearest thing he had come back to do, the save that had started it all, might cost him exactly that, hiding, 8 years too early, in front of the people he most needed never to frighten. To keep his father, he might have to show his family that their son was something other than a son. There was no clean answer. He turned it over and over and found no rule that dissolved it, only the bare shape of the choice, his secret or his father's life. And he already knew, had always known, which way he would choose if it came to that. The secret was armor. His father was the reason for the armor. You did not let the man die to protect the shield, you built to protect the man. But knowing he would break the rule did not make the breaking free. It would cost him the invisibility, cost him perhaps years of careful work, cost him the explaining he could never do. So Ethan added a fifth rule that night, the hardest one, the one that governed all the rest. The fifth rule: when the laws conflict, the people come first. Always the people. The rules exist to save them, never the other way around. He set the 5 laws in the cold and careful place where he kept the things that kept him alive, and he understood that he had just spent the winter building the doctrine of his whole second life, and that the doctrine's very first real test, 8 years off down a wet road, was already designed to make him break it. He could live with that. He had made his peace, long ago, with paying any price for the 4 names on his ledger. But he would spend the next 3 years making very, very sure that the last second save was never the one he had to make.